All right, we are live, and I would like to welcome you all, one and all, to our Rotary District 6460 Club President's Mid-Year Summit. And I have to begin, I would be remiss if I did not begin by saying thank you. Thank you for taking just a little bit out of your Saturday morning to join us, talk about where the year has been, where the year might be going. And also thank you for your service throughout the first now almost 7 months of the Rotary year and everything that you'll be doing in the remaining 5. We've still got some people rolling on. I'm pleased with our attendance thus far. And I just thought, first off, if there's anybody in the room who's had a bout of amnesia since your club visit, I am your district governor, Ryan Byers, and I will be leading you here throughout the day. And really, we've got an agenda that's broken into 2 primary parts. I am first going to give you a little bit of an update on where we stand in terms of some important district goals. And then in the second half of our time today, we're going to open things up to the floor, and we're going to hear what those of you in the room have to say, what feedback you might give on the year so far, and what questions you might have on how we're going to wrap up the 2021 to 2022 year as we all continue to serve to change lives together. So I am going to start things off, and actually, just in case, I see we've got our district governor nominee, Neil Miller, here. Neil, I assume you would not object if I would make you a co-host and you can kind of monitor the waiting room a little bit in case we have any late additions. Neil's giving me the thumbs up.
Be happy to do that.
Thank you, sir. Because I am going to start sharing my screen, so I might not be able to see that as well. And the reason that I am going to start sharing my screen is we are going to kick off today's meeting with a little bit of a State of the District address. And for those of you who have been checking your email over the past couple of weeks, you have hopefully seen that I have sent you some individualized emails regarding your clubs and where your clubs stand on a few important Rotary metrics. And what I thought it might be helpful to do is to give you a 100-foot view of where the district stands along the same lines in accomplishing some of our goals. And keep in mind that as I make this presentation, all of the data that I'm going to be giving is current through December 31st of 2021. I did have the option to make it current, but in part because I was sending you your individual reports over the course of a several-week period, I thought a uniform cutoff would be a good idea. So everything is current through December 31 of 2021. The first subject I'd like to talk to you a little bit about is membership, which is a key component of any Rotary organization. Obviously, we're a service group, we're a networking group. You can't do any of those things without having a good core roster of members. I'm not going to be telling any stories out of school when I tell you that unfortunately, Rotary membership in our district in West Central Illinois has been on a little bit of a downswing for the past many years. And the 2020 to 2021 Rotary year was particularly problematic in that regard. And I don't think that that's the fault of any one person, any one club. Obviously, the 2020 to 2021 year presented a lot of unique challenges as a result of the height of the pandemic falling during that period of time. But as you can see from the slide, between July 1 of 2020 and July 1 of 2021, we lost 100 members in our district. And that is not 100 people left Rotary, that is a net number. Meaning that obviously we admitted new people, but we lost 100 more people than we admitted. And that is the first time in the memory of anybody who I've spoken with that our membership figure in the district had dipped below 2,000 members. And in fact, we would have lost probably about 20 more members net, if not for the fact that in the last month of the prior Rotary year, we did charter a new Rotary club that brought in about 20 members. And you can see some more historical data there in terms of what we lost in some recent prior years. 52 between 2017 and 2018, 87 2018 and 2019, 67 between 2019 and 2020. So certainly the trend is downward overall, but last year we took a particularly hard hit. And I give you that historical data to tee up how we've done as a district in our clubs so far this Rotary year. And things are looking a little bit better. Between July 1, the start of the current Rotary year, and December 31, our net membership loss is exactly 1 member. So we went down from 1,909 to 1,908. And actually, we do have a new Rotary club that has had all of its charter paperwork submitted, and that will add about 24 members. So had that charter been granted before December 31, we would have finished the first 6 months with a little bit of a gain. Again, how does that compare historically? In 2017, we were down 24 members. In 2018, we were down 56 members over the same period of time. 2019 is a little bit of an anomaly, and I haven't figured out why. But in the first 6 months of the 19 to 20 Rotary year, we lost 0 members. And it really bothers me that we lost 1 and they lost 0. You know, I'm a little bit competitive that way. And then in 2020, we were down 81 members. So you can see, as compared to the history, we are doing much better in terms of membership than we have in most of the recent past. Now, would everybody love to see a membership gain as opposed to a net 1 member loss? I'm sure that they absolutely would. But when you've had a downward trend for 4 out of the last 5 years, to essentially break even like we have, I consider that an accomplishment. I consider that a win. And really, I give a lot of credit not to anything that I've done or to anything that we've done at a district level, but I give a lot of credit to you individual club presidents, a lot of credit to your membership chairs, to your members who have really made recruitment and retention of members a key priority during this 21-22 Rotary year so far. And I wanted to give some kudos to the clubs that have made that the biggest priority and have made the biggest strides. And I've broken the clubs into 2 different groups for purposes of doing that, because in my mind, it's really apples and oranges when it comes to small Rotary Club membership versus large club membership. So let's take a look first at the clubs with fewer than 20 members who have done the best in terms of membership gains in this first 6 months of the year. First off, we've got the Rotary Club of Chillicothe, which had 14.29% membership growth. Rotary Club of Manitou Forest City clocked in with 33.33% membership growth. And then really knocking it out of the park, though in a bit of a unique situation, you've got the Rotary Club of Silver Creek down in Troy, Illinois, hitting up to 60% growth and really bumping those numbers. And I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but I think I did see Amy Thomas, who's our Silver Creek president, connect. Amy, would you have anything to say? Would you want to speak to the level of membership success you've had down in Troy so far this year?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ryan. We drastically overhauled the cadence of our meetings and the timing of our meetings. Silver Creek started out very much as a lunchtime business individual club, and it was commuters. It wasn't individuals who actually lived in the service area. And so we switched our meetings to be an evening meeting, and all of the new members in the district, the Silver Creek district, and they're very anxious to better their community. And so that was really what happened. And I switched careers and started working in Troy. So I'm there 40 hours a week all the time. So it allows me the opportunity to engage and meet with people. And I've got my two newest members are 20-year-olds, which was really kind of cool. And they just overheard me talking at work one day, and they were like, can we join your private club? I was like, absolutely. And so they're bringing fresh perspective and ideas to the club and kind of balancing out what we want to do. So we're really excited.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that, Amy. And I think Amy made two really key points there in her remarks. Number one, really listening to the needs of that community in Troy. The old lunch club wasn't doing it for them anymore. People they were talking to who were interested in Rotary said, hey, what about evening when we free up after work? So they did a little bit of needs assessment, and they made sure to meet those needs. Also, reaching out to new demographics in terms of membership, with those two newest members being just 20 years old. That's really phenomenal. And that would represent a situation in which you're talking about Rotary and you're reaching out to individuals who you might not necessarily have thought to reach out to previously. So congratulations, Amy and the Silver Creek Club on that. We've also got our biggest gains in terms of membership in clubs that already had over 20 members. And there must be something in the water in Macomb, because the Macomb Noon Club has seen 9.8% membership growth this year, while the Macomb Centennial Morning Club, I apologize, the full name isn't on the slide, it's a little lengthy. The Macomb Centennial Morning Club has seen 10.71% membership growth. And then here's a statistic that really surprised me when it popped up on the reports. Our largest growth in a club that already had 20 members is actually in our Rotary E Club of Central Illinois, which has seen 14.29% membership growth. And the reason that surprised me is that's that club that I mentioned that just chartered in June of 2021. And my thought is, okay, you've got a brand new club with over 20 members. That's great, but probably those people you recruited in your first round of charter, that's going to be your core membership group for a while. But that's not been the case, and that E-Club has continued to grow into this Rotary year. Kind of similar to what I did with Amy, I saw Tom Stites, who's our president from the Macomb Club, is on. Tom, any comments or any secret sauce you can share on how you've been able to grow membership in Macomb real quick?
Well, I think we've got a good nucleus of net members that are going out and asking other people to come. But one of our biggest things, we have a member now that has a 3 times a week newspaper. And every Friday we have a story about our meeting in there. And I get my picture in there, fortunately, too. But I think it's just make that exposure. I've had like 3 or 4 members contact me to be a member. So that is amazing, just they want to be members. So we do have another 5 members that are in the works. And I'll tell you one thing, I'll just tell you right now. I was talking to my wife about Rotary about 2-3 days ago. And I said, how would you like to be? She said, you never asked. So we're going to have a new member. My wife's going to join. So that's one good thing you can do too. So anyway, I think it's just exposure that we've had, and it's just growing. I mean, I've got 15, 16 people tell me that, I read your story every week. I'd love to hear about your club. So, that just makes it easy to do. So.
Yeah, thank you very much, Tom. And much like Amy, I think Tom hit on a couple of very significant points there. One of the things we sometimes talk about Rotary, almost like different aspects of the organization are silos, right? We talk about Rotary membership, we talk about Rotary service, we talk about Rotary public image. But the thing that Tom hit on there is these truly are not silos. These all feed into each other and build on each other. And if you truly establish a good public image committee and good public exposure, like Tom talked about in the local newspaper, that's a membership driver right there. And then another key thing that he mentioned towards the end of his comments, people who you just haven't asked. You know, think of those individuals who would be exemplary Rotarians that for some reason just haven't been approached. They might even have thought about it themselves. And as Tom said, the reaction was, well, you never asked me. They might not be willing to take the first step. You need to be willing to take the first step. And I would be remiss if number one on that list, our E-Club, their current president, Crystal West, is here. Crystal is a woman who has more hats than the local haberdasher. Not only is she president of the club, she's also an assistant governor. She's also our current district trainer who's going to be training some presidents-elect a little bit later this morning. Crystal, would you have anything to add about your club's membership success so far this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of our success is that we do meet online. So that way we're not only having meetings, but we're multitasking. As a family, we include our children as part of our meetings. Sometimes we, you may be cooking dinner or feeding the kids while we're having a meeting. So it's just being able to provide an opportunity for spouses to join and be part of Rotary together, but still be in their home. We have 10 of our members that are actually their spouses. So that makes a big difference when trying to grow a club.
All right, thank you very much, Crystal. And again, the innovation there is key. The family-friendly nature of the club there is key as well, because we've got a lot of younger professionals that, much like Crystal, trying to balance a lot of different commitments, a lot of different obligations. If you can give them the flexibility to do that, your club will benefit from it. Also, in addition to those 6 clubs, I wanted to just say we've got plenty of other clubs that are growing as well. Other clubs that posted net membership growth figures during the first half of the Rotary year. Alton Godfrey, Bethalto, Cambridge, Edwardsville, Havana, Jacksonville, Midtown Springfield, Monmouth, Pekin, Pike County, Quincy, the Riverbend, Rushville, Springfield, and Springfield West Side brings us up to a grand total of 21 clubs in our district that saw membership growth in the first half of the year. And we had 21 grow. I will say also there were several more that may not have grown, but at least maintained and didn't have any loss. And that's significant as well, because even though we talk quite a bit about recruitment, retention is just important. If you're bringing them in the front door, it doesn't help if they're going out the back just as quick. So you've got to retain those core members. And then again, even in the clubs that have lost members, from what I saw in the reports, it's a couple here, it's a couple there. We don't have clubs in the district that are really hemorrhaging members. And I think, again, that is reflective of your efforts as club presidents in making your clubs inviting, welcoming places that do meaningful things for your community. And you're all to be commended for that. So how is it that we are going to finish the Rotary year strong in terms of membership? I had some points on this slide already when I came in, and you heard some of them reiterated by those club presidents earlier who have had success. Number one on my list, listen to what your community is telling you. And if your community isn't actively telling you anything, go out and ask them what it is they want out of a Rotary club. I'll reiterate, you heard Amy say exactly that earlier on. That Silver Creek Club, when it was holding on to that noon meeting, it was really on the way out. We didn't mention this with Amy earlier, but they had 4 or 5 members when I went down for my official visit back over the summer, and the club has really been rehabbed. The club is really vibrant, and it all started with Amy having the foresight to listen to what she was hearing when she was trying to recruit people. They were saying, hey, we'd prefer an evening meeting. She switched it over. There's been success as a result. The other way that we can finish the year strong in terms of membership, you heard me say it during my visits to your individual clubs, You've heard our Rotary International president say it, Shaker Mehta. His philosophy is each one, bring one. That's not just a tagline. That's our reminder to our clubs that membership is the responsibility of each and every single Rotarian. It's not the president's responsibility. It's not the responsibility of the membership chair or the membership committee. You should really be encouraging every member of your club to actively participate in membership. And what better way to do that than challenging everybody to bring at least one guest, if not a new member, between now and June 30. Also want to talk a little bit about innovation, which Crystal hit on. An e-club was not a brand new concept in Rotary, but it was a brand new concept in West Central Illinois. We'd never done it before. It was spurred on by Crystal and her husband Trent seeing a need, doing something out of the box, and it brought about some flexibility. I've talked to some others who have had similar success with hybrid meetings, and through streaming meetings or having meetings through Zoom, all of a sudden they've got engagement from members that they haven't heard of or from in quite some time. The other thing that I want to mention is new club development. You saw that when I recapped the stats from the prior Rotary year, if not for the fact that we started a new club, we would be down an additional 20 Rotarians. We've got a new club chartering that's going to bump us up 20 or 24 more new members. So new club development is really crucial to perpetuating Rotary's future. And some of you might be thinking to yourself, hey, look, Ryan, I've got my own club to run. I've got my own club to manage. I really don't want to be thinking about planting new Rotary clubs elsewhere. And that's fine, because you don't necessarily have to be the one that drives that, but as club presidents, you're in a unique position to help us as a Rotary district identify areas where we can expand with new clubs. You know, if you are trying to recruit members in your community and you're continually hearing that your meeting time doesn't work, but you don't want to change it because you've got 50 members who already like your meeting time, say to us, hey, you know, we've got a nexus of 10 or 15 people who could maybe meet in the morning, whereas we meet at noon. District leaders, would you help plant a new club here? And we've got a team that's prepared to do just that. So I think those are our 4 key points for finishing the year strong in terms of membership. And thanks to all of the sitting club presidents who shared there. I also wanted to talk a little bit about how we're doing in terms of contributions to the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation as a district. And we have had a long-standing goal at the district that we would like to see our per capita giving to the annual fund hit $100 per member. And that would make our overall giving goal $190,900 for the year, based on the fact that, as I said earlier, as of July 1, we had 1,909 members. In case anybody's curious, Rotary calculates your per capita giving, whether you're a district or a club, based on what your July 1 membership was, as opposed to how your membership fluctuates throughout the year. So our goal is really to get to that $190,900 mark. And as of December 31, we're at $88,221.03, a little bit under halfway to that goal, which I think is a solid place to be for a Rotary year, because within Rotary, we typically see a big push towards the end of the year, so towards the late spring and the summer, to get that giving in. So the fact that we're not at 50, not really a detriment in my mind, because we'll have that end of year bump. As far as comparison to prior years, you can see that we're doing pretty well. This is the second highest mid-year figure that we've had in the last 5 years. And it is a significant bump up from where we were this time last year, which indicates to me, as the membership figure did, that we are really rebounding from the pandemic. And again, that's not because of anything that I did or because of anything our district leadership did. That's because of what you as club presidents and you as your members have done in terms of encouraging and letting everybody know about the importance of the Rotary Foundation. However, there might be one or two of you still on the line asking yourself this question, which is, wait, why do I care? Why do we care so much about the annual fund of the Rotary Foundation? Keep in mind, when we talk about that annual fund, we are talking about the fund that has the most impact on Rotary's programs from the local level to the international level. So this is funding those big global grants you read about in your Rotarian magazine, whether it's bringing clean water to impoverished countries, whether it is malaria eradication, which has started in several countries. And this is also the fund through which we receive our district funding that we can then disperse to your clubs through grants and through scholarships, which are the two primary ways that we do that. So if you really like our club grant program and you wonder why it can't have more funds available to the local clubs, the answer is because we need increased giving to the annual fund in order to do that. If you really like our district scholarships and you wonder why we're not awarding more district scholarships, the answer is we need more funding through the annual fund in order to do that. So just a little bit of reminder, be sure you're talking to your clubs about the Rotary Foundation. I wanted to give some props to the clubs that have been doing that so far this year. In terms of per capita giving, our top 5 clubs to date: Jacksonville with $120 per capita, Galesburg with $130, Springfield with $134. There's Silver Creek again, they're sitting at $200, Jacksonville Sunrise at $245. So congratulations to all of those clubs, and a challenge to the clubs that maybe are not on that list. There's the leaderboard. Do you want to see your club among those names when we close the books on June 30th? I bet you do. This is what you need to aim for if you're going to get there. And I will say too, because Jim Chipman's on the line, Springfield Sunrise, our top club last year, was at $301 per capita. So if you really want to take that top spot, because they've got the culture of giving, even though they're not on the list now, it's probably Springfield Sunrise's competition to lose. Just know that capping out at $300 is probably where they'll be. I also wanted to thank the other clubs throughout the district that have given to the annual fund thus far. Of 47 clubs, we've had 34 give in some way, shape, or form to the annual fund. You can see them there. I'm not going to reel all the names off, number 1, because you can read, number 2, because I did it earlier, and nobody wants to hear my impression of the guy from the old Micro Machines commercials a second time. So thank you to all of you for those who have given, and those will continue to do so. Much like I said with membership, how is it that we are going to finish the Rotary year strong in terms of annual fund giving? Number 1, we just need to keep talking about it. We need to keep the drum beating. We need to keep the message going out that this is significant. And even though this might sound a little bit odd from the guy who has just hit you over the head with numbers and statistics for the last 30 minutes, really it's those emotional appeals about the Rotary Foundation that are going to be the most impactful. So if you've got somebody in your community that's been a beneficiary of one of your club grant projects, come in, have them talk about how that has impacted their lives or their organization's ability to carry out its goals. There are also speakers available through our Rotary district level and higher. If you want to educate your club a little bit more about the Rotary Foundation, our district Rotary Foundation chair, Brian Barstead, has a program that he loves to go out and give to clubs. If Brian's not available or the trip is a little bit too far for him, I'll do it. I would gladly do it. And if Brian and I aren't available, Actually, the Rotary Foundation, the International Foundation, has officers that will probably not travel to your club, but are certainly more than willing to connect to clubs virtually and give a presentation that way. So we can get some highly specialized speakers to share any aspect of the foundation with you. The other thing that I will say is last year we did do a district matching points program to spur on some giving towards the end of the year. In consultation with Brian Barstead, we're probably not going to replicate that at the district level this year because we had some individual clubs that program really worked for, but on a district-wide basis, it didn't really result in the level of increased giving that we had hoped for. But we would encourage those individual clubs for whom matching points worked as an incentive to try to develop a matching points program within your club. And just the real quick 15-second overview of what that is for anybody who might not know. Anytime you make a contribution to the Rotary Foundation, you receive points, and those points can be transferred to other individuals to help make them a Paul Harris Fellow or move them up to their next level of Paul Harris Fellowship. So the idea of a matching points program is if you've got a club that's sitting on a lot of extra points, or if you've got members who are sitting on a lot of extra points who would like to donate them to the cause, you can say to your group, hey, if somebody gives $500, we'll match that with 500 points, and that person will become a Paul Harris Fellow for essentially half the price of what it would normally be. And if that's something that might interest you, but you're a little bit confused on the logistics or how exactly to execute it, reach out to me, reach out to Brian Barstead. We would be glad to help you set that up. And the other thing I'll say too as a tip, even if you're not going to do a matching points program, a lot of the clubs that have success with foundation giving have done it at least in part because they have really made use of the Paul Harris Fellow. They have established a tradition of giving those out at certain times, not just to members of their club, but also community members. And after a couple of years of stories running in the local media, you know, Rotary names local hospital administrator a Paul Harris Fellow. Rotary names dedicated teacher a Paul Harris Fellow. That phrase starts to gain a little bit of cachet within your community, and all of a sudden you have individuals who want to give because they want to have the ability to give out that meaningful distinction. So think a little bit about how you can use those Paul Harris Fellowships, not just as an honor to bestow upon somebody, but a little bit of a fundraising tool as well. Moving on to a third topic real quick that I wanted to give you a mid-year update on. Let's talk about End Polio Now. And this is where, more than any other area, as I sit here right now, I am so incredibly proud of our district, and I have to thank you a million times over for everything that you've done. And on the next slide, we'll see exactly why. When we started the Rotary year, we had a district goal for polio giving for the entire 12 months of the year. That goal was $29,850. And we arrived at that by aggregating goals that you as club presidents entered, plus for anybody who didn't enter a goal, I went through and put in a goal that I based on their historic giving. We put those all together. It came up to $29,850. That's what I was hoping we would raise between July 1 and June 30. As of December 31, we have raised $35,314.62, which, if you're not particularly good at math, you should still be able to tell that's roughly $6,000 over that goal. And if you're a little bit better at math, you know that's 118.3% of our goal. And not only did we do that throughout the Rotary year, we did that in the first half of the Rotary year. and we compare that to 2020 to 2021, when in the entirety of the 12 months of that year, we raised $29,090.79. So in just 6 months, we have eclipsed not only the goal for the entirety of the year, we've surpassed the actual giving for the entirety of last year. And really, the main way in which we've done that is through the Pints for Polio program that so many of you participated in, and that, to invoke her name again, Crystal West was the mastermind of. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Crystal. And even for those clubs that did not participate in Pints for Polio specifically, we still had World Polio Day fundraisers from the Quincy Club and the Peoria North Club that helped put us over the top on that. And so that everybody's aware, as I've done, you're probably starting to sense a pattern in this presentation. Here are our top 5 Polio Plus giving clubs to date in the district. Peoria North clocking in with $2,734. Galesburg, $2,950. Peoria, $3,960. Galesburg Sunrise, $7,174.83. And the Rotary Club of Quincy, yowza, $9,000 even. Those are very impressive numbers. I haven't gone back and compared them to prior years, but I would be hard pressed to think we've had any club raise $9,000 individually for polio at any point in the last 10 years. So kudos to everybody. I picked on some people earlier. I'm going to do it again. I think Emily Roberts from Quincy is still with us. Emily, can you talk to us a little bit about how you got that $9 grand?
Sure, happy to do that. We had a very enthusiastic member in our club, Suzanne Ellerbrock, some of you may have heard of her, came up with a wonderful idea for a bourbon and popcorn pairing event that we wanted to do. And she spearheaded an exceptional committee to lead that event in the fall. And I think it exceeded every expectation that she had, as well as every expectation that our club had. Interestingly enough, when she pitched the idea to the club, many of us, and we didn't want to be skeptical, but in this time of coming out of the pandemic and fundraisers and how successful is that going to be, we thought, well, it sounds like an interesting idea. And perhaps we'll have a whole bunch of Rotarians and a handful of, interested bourbon drinkers that might want to come out for an event like that. Interestingly enough, and to my quite surprise, when we were at that event, as I looked around the room, I saw a handful of Rotarians and a whole bunch of bourbon drinkers who I didn't even know before, who didn't really know much about Rotary. So it provided a wonderful opportunity to not only raise money for an amazing cause, but also to raise Rotary awareness with a different group of people in our community. So it was an excellent event. Suzanne's already set the date for 2022. I believe it's November the 5th, and she's already started talking about it. So $9,000 last year, maybe we'll bump it up this year, we'll see. But it was an excellent event, and we're so proud of our results.
Love it. Thank you, Emily. And a couple of keys there. Number one, thinking outside the box again. Number two, it's a situation where having a dedicated event really seems to help. I mean, a lot of our districts prior to this year, or a lot of our clubs rather, prior to this year, they would maybe pass the hat, they would maybe count on individual contributions from members, but having that dedicated event really seems to put it into the forefront of everybody's mind. And to the extent that you've got some sway with your club, and hopefully you do because you're the president, just because World Polio Day is in the rearview mirror doesn't mean that you couldn't have one of these events prior to June 30 of the Rotary year. Or if you think that's going to be a little bit too quick, hey, try to use the influence you've got to make sure that your club participates in World Polio Day in October of next year. Yeah, it won't be our year anymore as club presidents of the district governor, but we'll all still be Rotarians. We all still want to see polio eradicated. So make that push. Couple of pointers on other pointers on how to help with Polio Plus giving for the rest of the year. First off, I want to make sure we don't rest on our laurels. Yes, we've already exceeded our goal. Yes, we've already exceeded our prior year's giving, but that doesn't mean that we're done. We've still got 5 months. That's plenty of time in which to do excellent things. So let's keep pushing. If I'm in the Rotary Club at Galesburg Sunrise at this point, and I've got $7,000 plus, and I see the Quincy Club sitting there with $9,000, you know, not to knock you, Emily, but if I'm in Galesburg Sunrise's shoes, I'm thinking, hey, how do I come up with $2,000 more? You know, that would be my thought. So continue to push. Continued education is also key. And more likely than not, even though you might not think you do, you probably have somebody who was personally touched by polio in your community. We have had survivors speak in Jacksonville. I believe I saw on Facebook, they had one come through recently in Quincy as well. We also, again, have Rotary International staff who work specifically with polio, any of whom would be glad to talk to you about this very significant cause. So make sure those people are getting in front of your club. And I also wanted to say, Suzanne Ellerbrock is not just doing polio fundraising involving bourbon with her club. She has been in talks with me and our governor line to make sure that we have bourbon flowing throughout the district. And we have tentatively approved a plan that Suzanne came up with. Our district is actually going to be buying its own barrel of bourbon. And we are going to be selling off bottles from that barrel in order to raise money for Polio Plus. From what I understand, in the late winter, early spring, Suzanne and a select group of Rotarians are going to be headed down to Kentucky to do a little bit of tasting and figure out exactly what barrel we would like to buy. And then come our district assembly in April, Suzanne will have an announcement about how exactly you and your clubs can participate, buy some bourbon for the good cause of eradicating polio. I saw Kelly Evans from Peoria North on earlier. Kelly, is there anybody in your club that likes bourbon?
I can think of a couple, maybe.
Couple,
Maybe. Yeah, maybe a couple.
we might be